James, you're in first. Go ahead.
Dana, before we get into just everybody's status for this weekend, can you just speak to just the challenge that this has been mentally for everybody, for yourself, for your staff, for the players, where I'm not sure, I'm sure there's somebody else out there who's had to start and stop multiple times, but to do it and do it right on top of each other and have a game in between that was a loss because we were stretched so thin, this has had to have been a very mentally taxing last month for you guys.
I feel really bad for the players, James. The coaching staff, it's one thing. We have our families right here. We get to go home. Those guys are pretty much in their own bubble there. And it's been a long 4 weeks. I'll have to be honest, and I've talked to the guys about it. We've got to address it. We just can't pretend like it doesn't exist. In the last month, we've played one game and we'll have our fifth practice today. And, the guys want to be players, and we haven't been able to get in the gym. And so it's been a difficult time, but, I told our guys, we're judged how we overcome adversity. And this is not been an ideal situation for our basketball team. And we're just going to have to fight our tails off to try to overcome it. But at the same time, I've tried to stay upbeat and clap my hands a lot, just trying to let them know that it's not going to be like we planned, and it's not going to be smooth tomorrow night. I told the guys, if you think we're going to come out and just play a perfect game and everything's going to roll and be smooth, we're going to be sorely disappointed. We've got to figure out a way to play each 4-minute segment. It's going to be an ugly game. We're just going to have to fight through it. And so that being said, our guys, we practiced hard yesterday. We didn't practice maybe well, but we practiced hard. And today we'll lighten it up a little bit. And we just got to be ready to go at 8:00 tomorrow.
Matt Preem, 247 Sports.
Yeah, can you, Dana, give us an idea of who will be available for you to play tomorrow night?
I think everybody but Eric that's played before. We were able to practice yesterday. Eric is still not rejoined the team, but the other guys were there. And so I think all the guys who have played for us will be there. Will, as on a positive note, was shooting around a little bit yesterday. I don't know. Clay is talking with his doctors and his therapist and trying to figure out a return. But everything, that's been 9 weeks, going on 10, I think here. So it's been a long process for him. But I think he's moving, towards playing here sometime in the future.
Let's go, Chris Hansen, register guard.
Dana, when you guys are on pause, is there anything the guys can do? Can they go outside and go to the park and shoot around if it's nice? Can they just go shoot free throws, or are they basically locked in their apartments during that whole time?
Well, the first time that we were on pause, it was a complete lockdown. We didn't do anything for 9 or 10 days. Coaches couldn't come into the office. We were on complete lockdown the first time. This time, the coaches were not contact traced, so we could come into the offices, and the few players who have gone through the virus could come into the gym, and everybody else was locked out. So we did have a few players in that were able to come in and shoot and do some running, but everybody else was locked out. Now, as far as going in the park or doing something like that, they can do that on their own. If they want to go run, on their own, they could do that, but they could not come in the facility. And so it was pretty tough on them, just not being able to come into the gym, for 8, 9, 10 days. It does set you back a little bit.
Let's go to Andrew from KECI.
Yeah, Dan, I know on the women's basketball side, they've had discussions about the week between the Pac-12 tournament and the NCAA tournament as a spot to reschedule some of the postponed games. Has there been a similar discussion on the men's side of a period of time in which to get those games back on the schedule, or are they going to try and make you play, 11, 12 games in 1 month before we get to Las Vegas?
We're in conversations with, the Pac-12 all the time, trying to figure out, it's not only our schedule, but our opponents, when they can work in games. And so, it's not an easy question. As of right now, I don't think anything's etched in stone on how we're going to try to make up some of those 5 games. I don't think there's any way we can make all 5 of them up. I think us and Arizona State are the 2 schools that are, a little bit of a jam for as far as making games up. So we'll do whatever the league tells us to do, but right now we haven't received word on when those games will be made up.
Let's go to Jerry Thompson.
Yeah, Coach, is there a specific time when you're going to get the vaccine? Is that going to alleviate a lot of these problems, possibly? Or
Jerry, I have not heard anything about the vaccine. We haven't been told that we will receive it or won't receive it. We just haven't heard anything. So I'm sure, Clay will let me know. He told me he'd let me know if he ever receives word about a possibility of vaccinating some of the players or the coaches. I ought to be on the pecking order here pretty quick at 62. I don't know. Might be around the corner for me, but I don't know. It's been a crazy year, Jerry, and I just wait for the phone to ring from Clay or Dr. Davidson just to get word on what we can and can't do. And so, but we have not discussed vaccines. They haven't told me whether we're in the line to get them or not.
Okay, let's go to Dylan from KWVA.
Coach, obviously you're playing your second game in only a 26-day span. In those 4 practices that you guys have played, what's the energy level been like in the locker room, and what can you say about the resilience from your team?
Well, the guys are happy to be together. The problem is we go out and things are so rough. The movements, the timing. Guys get discouraged right away. And I keep telling them, fellas, I know you want it to go perfectly. You've been sitting out for a long time, but there's a reason we practice in a typical year every day, to keep the timing, to keep the structure going, the rotations on defense, the blockouts, all those things. When you don't practice, you lose that timing. And so right now they're getting discouraged really quick, and almost a sense of panic. And I just, fellas, it's not going to be that way. You don't take this many days off and everything just come back and click. It's going to take some time, but we got to stay with it. We got to continue to make the right basketball plays. We got to make our rotations defensively. We got to do the hard things, and again, that's probably, as I watch teams come back, whether it's Michigan State or Texas or Xavier, any of the teams that are out, that first couple games, you can just tell their players are dragging and they're trying to get a sense of timing because they just, they're disappointed that it's not clicking like it should be in late January or early February. And so our biggest challenge is to keep them going. When things don't go right, like they didn't against Oregon State, our guys went into a little bit of a panic, a little bit of a, oh, what's going wrong here? Nothing's working. And, when you don't practice, again, our last game for Chris and LJ was January 9th. So they haven't played that game in 26 days. They haven't played a game in 26 days. And they didn't even get to practice the 3 days for Oregon State. So they're basically in 2 practices to get ready to play a game. So again, very unusual circumstances, but they have to prepare themselves mentally to know that it's not going to go perfect. We just got to keep plugging away, trying to make the right plays, and eventually we'll get back. I don't know how quickly we will, but we will get back if we just stay with it. And the guys just keep pounding away, and hopefully it's quicker than later. But it's not going to be, again, a smooth, rhythm game for our offense. And defensively, we got to communicate to try to cut down on some mistakes. And then our conditioning, showed in the last game against Oregon State when our numbers weren't really good, just our lack of conditioning. And I'm concerned about that tomorrow. We'll have some guys that are out there for more minutes than they're conditioned right now just because we haven't been practicing.
Let's go back around to James.
Dana, to Wazoo in particular, they've really made defense kind of a hallmark of things the past couple of seasons under Kyle. What have you seen from them defensively specifically that's going to present a bit of a challenge because of defensive efficiency? I think they're in the top 50 in KenPom.
Well, they change it up, play some man, play some zone. Their activity's good. They got 2 big freshmen that are changing some shots around the basket. But again, they don't give up a lot of easy ones. They don't give up a lot of offensive rebounds. And so, they're solid around the basket, and, just a team that, is worked hard to be together and play together defensively. And they have done a good job.
Well, now, Chris Hansen, next question.
With all the challenges that you guys have coming back from this, rather bizarre month, have you had to lower your expectations of what you want out of the season, or you just feel like you got to just start plugging away and get back on track?
Well, no, I haven't lowered my expectations. We just got to fight through it here. Been thrown a curve that, as a coaching staff, we haven't experienced, and our players, really in a tough spot. But no, we've got 6 weeks here to try to get it right. And are we going to have some more ups and downs? Absolutely. But we've still got a tremendous amount to play for. We still got a good group. They've done a good job of fighting through injuries with Will and Dante. They've stayed together, so, my goals haven't changed. And I hope theirs haven't. They're going to have to get their heads up. They're going to have to continue to fight. We're going to have to overcome adversity like we've talked about with them. And it just is what it is. We can't change it. We just got to fight through it. And so I hope they haven't changed their expectations, because, I sure haven't changed mine.
Andrew from KEZI.
Yeah, can we just get an update in on how Frank Tepnang is doing? Do you hear me now, Greg?
You cut out for just a minute there, Andrew. The
Yeah,
question was about Frank.
Yeah, just an update on how Frank has kind of been acclimating to the Division I game.
Frank's doing a good job. He works really hard. Obviously, all this time away from the practice floor has probably affected him more than anybody, because he needs to get out and play since he didn't join us until after Christmas. So, it's probably slowed his progression more than anybody, just because he wasn't aware of what we were trying to do offensively, to get the reps. It's probably slowed him down, probably been a big a negative for him just because he needed the practice time. So that being said, yesterday he had a ton of energy. He was flying around and hitting people and making the practice as physical as he could. So, like I said, we got 6 weeks here back on the practice floor. Now he just got to keep fighting and get in better shape and try to give us some minutes.
Matt Preem.
I'm okay. I forgot to lower my hand.
All right, that's easy. Jerry Thompson then.
Yeah, Coach, sorry to bring up the Oregon State game, but I know, you know, the rebounding was a problem, but if you shoot free throws as well as Oregon State, if you hit a few more threes, you win the game. Are you saying that, and you don't like to use excuses, but was the conditioning, is that affecting the shooting?
Oh, absolutely. No. Again, that's just natural, like if your legs aren't there, it's harder to shoot the ball. And that's why, I'm very disappointed in our shot selection at times. I think the guys, we got to the free throw line the first half and they didn't go in. And now, what good does it do to drive and get fouled? I'm not hitting my free throws. And so we just settled for threes and kept talking about it in every timeout. And we still settled, without our best 3-point shooter, who's, Chris is shooting 45%. The percentages will catch up with him occasionally, but the rest of our guys, their percentages just didn't say that. So shot selection wasn't good. You mentioned the free throws. Oregon State shot them very well. We didn't shoot them, so again, that we just didn't get it done, and everything though, Jerry, goes back, you ask about conditioning, rebounding goes back to conditioning, running the floor goes back to conditioning, transition defense, transition offense. That's why it's always a point of emphasis with us, because we press and we do things, our conditioning's got to be great. And it wasn't, and I didn't adjust to it as a coach. Our players didn't adjust to it as players, and we got beat. And so hopefully tomorrow, we'll run guys in and out. We'll try to do things differently to keep everybody fresh. We'll try not to take 29 threes. We'll try to make some adjustments, and hopefully, we'll have a better result. But again, it'll be a difficult game. We're going to have to play our tails off. We're going to have to fight on the boards. We're going to have to do the things that are just effort things, because I don't think the basketball things will go that smoothly. I'd be shocked if they did. And then the guys would be saying, see, we don't have to practice every day, coach. We just practice a couple days here and we're fine. So, but I know that's not the case. And so I know we're going to have to do the things on the boards, diving on loose balls, running the floor, all the tough things, because just shooting the ball and the timing of the offense, there's just no way that it can be smooth. We're going to have to make the best of it.
Chris, did you have one more and I clicked your hand down, or are you good? You're good. All right, then last question, Dave. Looks like it'll go to James.
And just to go back to the ability to make up some of these games, and realizing the conference is still discussing all these things. But like Andrew mentioned, the women have that week of flexibility, though, after their scheduled tournament. You guys are up against Selection Sunday. There's an argument to be made that it would actually make the most logistical sense, since the end of the regular season is currently you guys against OSU, everybody against their rival, for all the men and women to all go to Vegas for 2 weeks and try to make up as many games as possible before some sort of abridged tournament, so that people don't go there for only one game to leave, and that everybody can get in as many games as possible. Is that something that, are you aware of that possibly being on the table? And if not, just your feeling of that right now, it's going to be hard for you guys to schedule the LA schools, and those are the teams who are ahead of you in the standings. What the legitimacy of all this is for, if you're not even playing the teams who are in front of you, don't have a chance to do so due to these circumstances right now.
Well, James, you're way ahead of me as far as trying to figure out, the future. I'm worried about Thursday night. I have not heard that as a possibility of everybody going to Vegas for 2 weeks. I think that the conference is looking at moving us to play Oregon State maybe earlier and freeing up the last week to go to LA. I don't know, James. I really don't. Eric Rodell is handling all that for us. And so I'm not sure. I don't think we'll get all 5 games that we've missed in. But I do think, we will try to get 3 or 4 of them in, and when, James, I don't know, but we are going to have some difficult weeks, I'm sure, coming up with 3 games. It'd be nice if we just get everybody healthy and everybody back in shape and ready to go. But right now, I have not heard that. To answer your question about 2 weeks in Vegas, I have heard that, we still want the conference tournament as a conference. And personally, I still, hope that we play a conference tournament. And I'd like to get as many games in for the fellas as we can. Basically, because, they'd rather play games in practice, and so how many we'll get in, James, I don't know. But that's, not a bad idea. But I just don't know how many teams. I know us in Arizona State. I don't know what the full slate is for everybody as far as making up those missed games. But, we've got 5 now, I know. And I think Arizona State, they're on another pause. And I think they've got 6. So there's quite a few games for us too, and maybe a few other teams, to make up. But again, I'm sure the conference office, along with the ADs, will make those determinations.